Hey everyone, thanks for listening to our podcast, Synced on Air. Hope you're enjoying it, and please give us any ideas of who to interview next. Now, here's a message from our sponsor.
Pave Tool Innovators is a family-owned, American-made business. We invent and produce a wide range of tools for landscapers and hardscapers alike. From block lifting clamps and elite suction equipment to save your back, to screening tools to get you off your knees, and everything in between, we can save you time and money. You can order online or find your local dealer at pavetool.com or give us a call at 860-870-8665 and we will personally take care of you.
Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have a repeat guest on the show. Thank you, Frank Mariani from Mariani Premier Group, for joining us today. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing great, and it's always nice to see you, Angelique, and talk to you. Your energy is really gets me excited about all the good things that are happening in the green industry. And you're one that really likes to lead the charge. And
thank you.
That means a lot to me. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, thanks for saying that. I really appreciate it. And we were honored to have you. I think you said you fly 20 days out of the month, different places, and you made a huge effort to fly in for our Sync Live event in Atlanta in February this year. And it meant a lot to me. And I've spoken to a lot of attendees since, and they're like, and I talked to Frank, and we had a great conversation, and he gave me some tips, and he gave me his card, and you just really made an impact at our event. So
well, you know what's interesting about that? As good as the presentations are, and they were very good. When you can have I would encourage everybody to attend next year at the different programs you put on, and simply because it's going to catch on fire. And then those opportunities to have those one-on-one conversations become more and more difficult. I think that, one of the things that changed Mariani, when Dad passed away in 1973, we did $90,000 in total revenue. And I really credit Elka at that time. Then I went to Planet, then I went to NALP. And the relationships that I built at attending things like Sync. I think that something that's remarkable about our industry is that people share indiscriminately. I mean, they tell you everything. And, how many other industries are like that? But guess what? If you don't take the time to attend, and if you don't put yourself out there, not afraid to ask any question, there's no dumb questions. Might be, if it's from me, it might be a dumb answer, but there's no dumb questions. Look, when I was younger, I was intimidated by the big companies out there, the Brickmans and the Dam Guards and the Ruperts, and but all of them shared and shared and shared, and it made Mariani better, made me better as a person. It also sometimes used it as an example of things that I wouldn't do, because what they did really didn't meet my goal of striving to be the best of the best. So it's not always what you learn. Sometimes it's who you get to meet.
Figuring your way, maybe, for your own company.
Yeah. And it's, I just can't speak highly enough of what you're trying to do and what you're not trying, what you are doing. And again, it's only as good as the amount of effort and time that people put into not only show up, but show up in a sense that they're not afraid to reach out and
join in.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we're bringing to the industry are, we're looking at the life cycle of the landscape. So connecting, design, construction, horticulture, and maintenance, and looking for game changing, either ways of working or products, or, did you see anything that was exciting to you for the future or for the industry?
Well, I mean, there was some new, for example, as I just walked around the showroom floor, which I always do, some new types of building blocks as far as green walls,
Yeah,
green roofs, things like that. I thought that was really, really interesting. Plunge pools, different things like that
yeah,
I witnessed, but never had an opportunity to really learn more about it. And there were people there just dying to give you more information.
yeah.
I mean, it's just
There
uh
are some game-changing products out there, and
there really are. And it's the other thing, like I think that already, but I'm a big proponent of automowers. Uh,
yes,
I think the big push to electric, um, whether it's religion or politics or things like that, I think you should. I like to stay away from being
me
a
too.
zealot. A zealot.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, for example, let's talk climate control. No matter, I happen to believe that Mother Nature is incredible. And the fact that we could have done all this damage over the years,
I know.
Mother Nature is so incredible, could probably withstand what we've done and even more. That being said, why wouldn't anybody want to eliminate pollution? So
Yeah,
why does it have to be an argument? The argument is you believe in climate control, you don't believe in climate, who cares? Do you
yeah,
believe in doing something that's good for the environment? And
yeah,
by the way, the last time I checked, we are in the green industry. So it drives me nuts when I see some companies, they have the loudest pipes on their trucks and they're all jacked up and they're burning gas and fuel. And that's not what we're about. What we're about is the most fuel efficient,
yeah,
best type of equipment we can use. And if it happens to be electric, great. And if it happens to be fossil fuel, great. But let's use it in an appropriate manner.
yeah,
Uh, but with the automowers, I think that's a no-brainer. That's a game changer and
yeah,
something that probably the electric grid is big enough to supply the electricity that we need. So I'm all for it. When it comes to blowers, I'll be very, very happy, as will my neighbors and my wife and everybody else, when they're much quieter, but we're getting there.
yeah,
But then again, when you attend functions like yours, you have the opportunity to talk to those manufacturers and share, life experience of what your team is telling you they could use to
yeah.
do a better job, and for us to do everything a little bit better in a
Better.
sustainable way. So
Well, and yeah, like you said, I mean, everybody was so open about sharing the progress, and everything's, nothing's like, okay, it's better from day one. It's step changes, isn't it?
yeah,
You have to take that first step, and or learn from people who have, and once you have that feedback, how to get better at what you're doing.
that's
I
exactly right.
Well, and I listened to your podcast with Jay Worth on the Green Perspectives, and
What did you think of that?
oh, I loved it. I loved it. There were so many nuggets. I was like, I loved what you said about, because this is how I've always felt like, um that you're not going to say we're the best, because you're always learning, and you feel like if you start shouting that too loudly, you're gonna take your foot off the gas. I'm summarizing, so maybe say it in your words, but
Yeah, you know what? I think here's what's interesting. Again, when Dad died in '73, I just got out of high school, so everybody went to college, and I'm working 7 days a week.
hardworking.
And feeling sorry for myself, first of all, because I lost the greatest guy in the world. And then second of all, because everybody went to school and I'm working 7 days a week. I didn't really mind the work, but I knew that that was not sustainable.
Yeah.
And I had to make a decision. Do I really, $90,000 company? At that time, um, Chicago was the second largest Puerto Rican population. And
Oh
my
wow.
grandfather, who had a small nursery and garden center, I grew up with Puerto Ricans and they were
Yeah.
phenomenal. I mean, I love their culture. I love them. I love their food a lot.
Yeah, I know. I love the
And
food too.
they had a great work ethic. And so my dad,
Yeah.
when he started his little maintenance business, it was all Puerto Ricans and, was us together. But, I didn't, we worked in those days, Monday through Saturday, cutting lawns and pruning and, horticultural things like that. And Sunday, I'd get up and sharpen blades and wash trucks and change the oil, go to church and come home and do billing, do estimates, do payroll. And I said, this is not,
Sustainable.
this is
Yeah.
not sustainable. So I said, look, I have two choices. Either I should just wrap the business up, or I need to build a team. And if I'm going to do that, I know I can get people that are a hell of a lot smarter than me. I didn't have a college education. I took courses at night and things like that, but that was another thing on top of the 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But I knew I could, hire landscape architects and horticulturalists and agronomists and accountants and HR people. I could fill the gap and my knowledge base with other people, and never ever hired anybody for a job, always hired somebody for a career, because I couldn't imagine if I was doing things right, why would they want to leave? Hence, we've got 55 people in Illinois alone that are in the quarter of a century club that have been with Mariani over 25 years, some of them almost as long as my 51 years.
Wow.
And I
That's
feel
amazing.
blessed. But I have to tell you, that doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
It happens because, my goal was to build the best residential landscape company in the world. I've changed that now to the best outdoor living company in the world, because quite frankly, we do a lot more than landscaping. And you know what? I never, people used to say, oh, Mariani, you're the best. I never believed that. When I stopped working on Sundays, I would, and still to this day, when I'm in town, I drive and I look at the competition, and all their work looks better than ours. Even if it doesn't, it always looks better than ours. I always look at
I
it and
was like,
say,
what?
this is perfect, that's perfect, that's perfect, that's perfect. And then I will find a match head underneath a leaf, and I'll say, why didn't we clean that up? We could have done a better job. How come that edging isn't perfect? But, being relentless in the pursuit of perfection is something that I love. I don't suggest it's for everybody, but it is for me.
Mm.
And, I always look at Michael Phelps, why did he had all those gold medals? Because he could look right, he could look left, he saw where the competition was and chose to touch the wall first. I think for me, I want to touch the wall first. For my father's legacy, I want to touch the wall first. And I recognize that somebody is always trying to be as good or better than we are. So therefore, you have to strive for best practices. It's one of the major reasons that I decided to start Mariani Premier Group along with my partner Fred Wacker was this. By partnering with other great companies around the country, there's got to be something that they do better than Mariani. And there's got to be something that Mariani does better than them. So
Yes.
although I love the peer groups that are out there, I mean, I think that they bring some Marty Grunder and Bruce Wilson and Jeffrey Scott, and I mean, the Harvest Group, the list goes on and on. Fred Hassard, it goes on and on. Anybody that needs that help, and not only for green and landscapers, but also arborists and everything else, these peer groups are the game changer.
Yeah.
Attending functions like SYNC is game changer. Being involved with NALP, game changer,
Yeah.
if you participate.
Yeah.
And I have 2 commandments at Mariani.
Uh-huh.
The 10 commandments are a little bit rough for me. That's a lot of commandments, but the 2 commandments for me is, base your decision. In other words, empower your team to base the decisions on these two commandments, which means they don't have to call me because they're empowered to make the choices, understanding that they're going to make some mistakes. I don't really care as long as they learn from the mistakes. As a matter of fact, they're not making any mistakes. They're not trying hard enough. But the two commandments are, number one, base your decisions on what's best for the client. Because, by the way, and that's not just give the client anything he wants. Sometimes the best decision for a client to say, no, that's not what we're going to do. That wouldn't be to your advantage. And, I appreciate your business. I appreciate your patient, but we can't do that because it's wrong.
Yeah.
But most of the time,
or there's a better way.
There's a better way.
Yeah.
But most times, what they're asking for, they just want you to listen and then perform and meet their expectations. When somebody said, I'm going to exceed your expectations, I said, no, thanks. Just meet them. I'll be thrilled. We'll pop the champagne. And the second commandment is what's best for all the associates of your company. Base that decision, which again is not always ice cream and apple pie. Sometimes it's, you know what, Frank, you're not meeting the expectations that we've set out. You've got a handbook. You know what you need to do. If you want to rise up through this company, you have to meet the requirements of doing a great job. Yep. And a lot of other times it's putting your arm around and listening to a great recommendation that they have because they're in the field or in the office or they're doing something every day. And they understand the business a lot of times more than I do or the other managers. So you want to listen to them and base your decision on what's best for them, because chances are what's best for them ensures that they're going to do what's best for our clients. And so it's a win-win. Those two commandments have helped me build my company. And also, what I'm doing right now, Angelique, for those that don't know, but I'm on a plane a lot and looking at other companies because I want to meet not only with the owners, I want to meet with everybody at the company. I want to walk sites, look at their work, and see if they have the talent to really be the best of the best.
Yeah.
But as important, or maybe more importantly, the desire to learn and to be the best of the best. Plus, I want to walk with the team and see how the newest laborer interacts with leadership of the company.
Oh, that's interesting.
If that newest laborer looks down at his shoes and doesn't say a word, I don't want that company.
Wow. Do you feel like, after a day of being with the company, you can tell if you want to be in partnership with them?
Yeah, maybe a half a day.
Half a day. Wow. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
But we're going to spend a lot more time after that. But let's cut to the chase right away. Is it the type of work we want to do? Is it a market we want to do? Is there a culture there? By the way, you can't fake the culture of a company. No, if people are unhappy, you're going to know it. At least I can smell it. And if they're unhappy, I really don't want that company because
that's harder to fix.
We're only as good as the person that's mowing the lawn and digging the holes. They're the lifeblood of what we do each and every day. I want to make sure that they see a path, a career path, even if that career path is flat. There's nothing wrong. A part of the Quarter of a Century Club, we've got 2 people over 40 years that have been laborers the whole time. That's what they chose to stay in that position. But we've allowed them the ability to get mortgages, to buy a home, their kids to go to college. Those are 2 of the finest individuals you could ever have on your team. And that makes me very happy. The same token for somebody who wants to move up the ladder, you've got to have a career path and an understanding of how that happens. In the old days, I remember it was basically, well, if you worked for me in 1968, you got a 25 cents more in 1969. Okay. And boom, boom, boom. It wasn't based on, well, if you worked at a masonry company, if you were strictly a laborer and only just carried the bags of cement or mixed the the mortar, or if you did things like that, if you wanted to make more money, of course you would get cost of living raised. But if
Yeah.
you wanted to make more, you had to learn how to be a mason. Well, with landscaping, it's the same thing. If you want to just mow lawns and that's all you want to do, great. If you want to make more, you're going to have to learn a little bit about horticulture, proper pruning techniques and things like that. You'll make more. And then you can become a crew leader in training, and then you can become a crew leader, and you can become a supervisor, project coordinator, branch manager. You know, when Dad died, we did 90,000. When I sold my business in 2020, we were 60 million, the largest residential company. I never set out to do 60 million. Never. People ask me, you know, did you have a game plan? No. My game plan was, if Angelique was working for me, I hired her for a career. If
Yeah.
she had a desire to grow with the company, then I had to grow the business large enough to make sure that she had an opportunity to move
To
into whatever
thrive.
different
And
thing she wanted to do at
yeah.
Mariani. So Angelique forced me to grow my business, and boom, 90,000 to 60 million. So, you know, it's a pretty good story, but it's based on, again, what was best for that associate. What was best for that associate, what was best for that client, ended up best for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And do you think, you know, there's, you know, our industry is inherently challenging. You know, we have to put up with weather, we have to put up with so many outside factors, you know, construction versus planting, you know, the softscaping versus hardscaping. You know, there's a lot of challenges to do it to perfection. You know, so I do feel like we have an industry that's hard. Do you think that you know, what are the obstacles, I guess, for the rest of the industry? I think, you know, you've been solving them for Mariani for many years.
well,
What's your perspective on the rest of the industry, and what we need to do to, you know, to bring those younger companies up with the companies like Mariani?
what's interesting is, you know, I mean, we're a perfect example, 90,000 to, you know, multi-millions. And I've seen so many companies do that. You know, 35 years ago, I was told there'll never be a roll-up of residential companies. I said, well, first of all, we're not doing a roll-up. We're doing a consolidation of best brands and partnering.
Yeah.
So we're different than that. We don't want to do that. But why can't you do a quote unquote roll-up? And they said, well, you can't scale. I said, oh, that's interesting. You know, even 35 years ago, we started at 90,000. I think it was about 15 million by then. You can't scale, really? You know, so it was just, people just listen to themselves talk, and you can't do it, you can't do it. I knew when we started doing this, people would catch on, and now we have, you know, there's other people trying to do residential roll up or consolidation. I don't think any of them are us. And I say that with humility, but you know, I think because I'm so fortunate to have the partners that I have, and a great private equity group that believes in it, and the Mariani Premier Group leadership is incredible. So I'm not worried about the competition, but you know, I think about too, there has been so many roll-ups in the commercial business, and there's been a lot of consolidation in residential now. So I think about some of the peer group that are out there. And I said, I wonder if they see us as a threat, because as we bring companies in, they lose a potential client, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about this, first of all, I encourage our companies, if they're part of a peer group and they think it's adding value, stay there. You know,
Yeah.
you know. But the other thing that we've done, I think we've created the ultimate peer group amongst our companies. But it's different than the typical peer group in that you just hit the nail on the head. Look how many different things one individual landscape company could do. They might do landscape architecture, they might do landscape design, they might do fine gardening, they might be bid build, they're doing estimating, they've got HR, they've got purchasing for
Yeah.
material, they have purchasing for equipment, they have IT. There's so many different. So if a peer group said, well, I'm just going to have owners, maybe one or two of the leaders of a company come to a peer group meeting. Are those owners, do they really have the depth to represent
The
every
detail.
single
Yeah.
facet of what their company does? I
Mhm.
think, and I'm hoping some of the big peer group companies out there, these consultants are listening to me. I think their opportunity is not only to have a peer group amongst leadership, but peer group amongst all the different team leaders within those companies.
Yeah.
They could expand their business 20 times the size it is right now because those individuals that are leading purchasing, that are leading HR, that
They're
are
still
leading,
leaders.
they're
Yeah.
leaders and they need that training and they need that help and that mentoring. And quite frankly, that peer communication where they can make their companies better than anyone else's.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you know, I think I told you that story before, but when Dad died, I went to a small school, and one of my friend's father was a pilot for TWA, and another one was a sports announcer on CBS News. Another one was a doctor. Another one was an attorney. And my dad cut grass. And I was embarrassed until
Yeah.
Dad died. And then I said, oh my God, what my dad does every day is 10 times harder than all those businesses, all those other fathers put together. I mean, what we do is incredibly challenging if, in fact, we want to do it the right way.
Yeah.
You've got cultural issues, language issues, environmental issues, government issues. You have the weather. I mean, labor. I mean, it goes on and on and on. If you're going to do it right,
Yeah.
it's really
It's
a
a challenge.
complicated. It's a challenge, and I recently turned 70 years old, and people said, Frank, when you gonna uh, stop? I'll stop when I'm convinced that Mariani Premier Group is the best outdoor living company in the world. Guess what? We got a ways to go. And that really motivates me. Um, and I think we're doing a great job of leading the pack, but there's some great companies out there. And again, like Michael Phelps, I want to touch that wall first.
Yeah.
So I feel so blessed that going into my 51st year since Dad passed. So I was working prior to that too, but I love this industry. This is not a
Yeah.
job for me.
Yeah.
Going to Atlanta, sharing ideas at SYNKD, this is not a job. It's a privilege and it's fun. And you walk away with a page, that's what I like about being on an airplane too, because you can take all the notes that you put together when you make these trips, and then
Yeah.
you can simmer it down like a fine spaghetti sauce and simmer it down and simmer it down. Instead of blinding people with 200 suggestions, you might have three nuggets that are really worthwhile
Yeah.
and game changers for your company. So, you know, um, everything is out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's all there for the taking, but you got to participate.
Yeah.
And you can't be afraid to make some mistakes because you're going to make them. I know I still continue to make them.
Well, I liked what you said. If you aren't making mistakes, you aren't trying hard enough.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
That reminds me when I tell my kids about, when we're snow skiing, like if you're not falling, you're not going fast enough.
Oh, I know
You're
all
not,
about that. Yeah,
and they're like, I don't want to fall. I'm like,
yeah,
no, you have to fall.
you have to fall. The key is get our 6-year-old grandson, Joey. Uh, his dad was a very good hockey player, and his uncle and his other uncle, and so they're Swedish, so there's hockey in their genes.
Yeah.
But I went to watch him a couple weeks ago, and he's just started skating, and now his 4-year-old brother is skating now.
Oh, goodness.
But what really made me happy is he'd fall down and he immediately got up. And
Yeah,
I thought that's a pretty good lesson for us all.
it
He,
is. And
he fell
we get
down,
more
he'd get up.
bashful maybe as we get older, and
Yeah.
we're afraid of saying, I failed at this, but actually, if I look back in my career, the times that I've, you know, felt failure, was disappointed in myself, or whatever the situation was, you always learn so much more about yourself, about doing things better because of that. So it's a natural part of the game. Um, and I think that, like you said, we have a we have a lot of challenges in our industry, and it's great to hear how during your growing of Mariani, how you found those those ways to grow and do it well, and to do it better, like hiring people for careers. And I think that that's, something that our whole industry should be doing. What part of the industry? Um, it's probably not 50%. I don't know in companies, but maybe it is in total population, hopefully, because of bigger companies. But you know, we still have we have a wide spread of sizes of companies, and still a lot of learning to be done in the whole industry.
You know, at NLP they have something called Trailblazers, where they ask individuals throughout the NLP list of members if they would be willing to offer their services to go and meet with a company that's looking for some help and advice and things like that. And
Okay.
I've tried to do that. And I'll never forget one time I was asked by a company that did $250,000 in sales in Missouri. And my team's looking at me and going, "You're not really going to do that." I said, "What do you mean?" And I said, they're asking for help. Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I went there and didn't even know where the hell I was going, but I drove. And it was interesting. There were 12 Baptist church and not one bar. And I said, maybe I made the wrong mistake. Maybe I should. But I met with the husband and wife and son, and $250,000 a year. I came back after 2 days with a notebook of ideas because they had to do everything
Wow.
themselves. And I came back and my team looked at me. "You came back with ideas from a $250,000 company?" I said, "Damn right I did. And these are the ideas." And they were great. And people going, "Wow, I never thought about that." I said, "See, and by the way, we shared some of the things that we did. I'm quite confident they're a hell of a lot bigger right now than 250,000. I hope
Yeah.
we had something to do with that." But that's what you can,
If
nobody
you're
wants.
open, if you're open to seeing it and learning from people,
Yeah,
I think, that's a huge win. And like today's young folk, I sound so old.
yeah,
But
I should say that, not you.
um, well, I'm closer to your age than their age, but like, so they see things in a different way than maybe if they'd grown up in the industry. And you met Austin on the panel with you. It's really invigorating. And Grayson was another young leader. They're doing things their own way, and it's invigorating. And we can learn both ways,
Yeah.
from older to younger, but younger to older. And I think that that's powerful when we're learning both directions.
Well, we I was fortunate enough to sit on that panel. Austin is down in Florida, and I'm in Florida quite a bit because we have uh, two companies right now. We're going to have five in a short period of time, but because of your invitation, we've gotten to be good friends.
Oh,
Along
awesome.
with,
Okona too.
by the way, I mean, spectacular individual, and he's down in Florida.
Yep.
Uh, and I mean, what a talent, what a great firm.
Yeah.
And I would have never known it if it was known him, either of them, if it wasn't for you.
Oh,
So those are the type, um, somebody said something to me. They said, Frank, you've partnered now with 20 companies, actually 22, because we have a couple tuck-ins too. 22 companies in a little over basically in 3 years. And is your Rolodex, I'm dating myself again, but young people, Rolodex, where you put your business card.
They might not know that.
Right.
That is.
Is your Rolodex going to run out? And somebody said, Frank doesn't even know who he knows. And if you think about that, it's because look how many people I met at SYNKD, right? Now, I'm not going to remember every one of those individuals, and they're not going to, but hopefully they thought that presentation was good and that they could look it up someday. Even who was that bald guy that spoke poor English? Oh, Frank Mariani. Well, when they decide maybe that they may want to partner with somebody, chances are because of you, they're going to call me. So I don't even know who I don't know. But the Rolodex is never going to end, because that $250,000 company in Missouri is going to grow to a $5 million company in Missouri. It's going to grow to a $10 million. And so, the opportunity is endless.
Endless, yes.
So that's what gets me going.
Awesome. Well, that is a great phrase to end our podcast on. Opportunities are endless. Thank you so much, Frank. It was a pleasure to have you on our podcast again. I hope that we can count on you at our next Sync Live event.
You're going to send me the information, and
yes,
I'll do everything I can to be there.
Awesome.
And I'd be honored if you asked me to attend. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a great day and safe travels.
Thank you very much. My best to you and everybody else. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.